But if you have a turnaround in the platinum price and production goes higher, then, it becomes core again. So it's very difficult to see, Anglos actually unbundling,
Do you own Anglo American?
Yes, we do.
And, what would your sentiment be if Anglo American had to unbundle Anglo Platinum? General Electric out with results last week, the auto sector doing really well.
Yes.
So, it's really cyclical.
Bearing in mind that we're long-term investors, we believe that platinum is a core stock. We like the long-term prospects for platinum. We'll see a rebound in the auto sides. We had the slowdown from the Japanese in 2011. That should come back on stream. And that should demand, platinum going forward. And we prefer right now holding Impala Platinum, but if we should see an unbundling from Anglos, we'll probably switch that into an Impala.
Yeah. Very quickly, before we let you go, Suraj, of course, all eyes on Minister Pravin Gordhan's budget speech tomorrow. Anything specific that you've got your...
Look, we'll like to see clarity on the infrastructure spend, where it's going to come from. On the back of that, we'd like to see who will benefit from that infrastructure spend, whether it's going to be equipment or further construction. We'd like to see the details coming through, basically on that.
That is something that has been promised for the last 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. On that note, Suraj, we have to say goodbye. Thank you so very much for joining us. Great to have you on the program. Suraj Sukju from RMB joining us for Market Watch today. And in his State of the Nation address earlier this month, South African President Jacob Zuma outlined a number of initiatives expected to stimulate job creation in South Africa's economy. The country's unemployed will be waiting to find out how these initiatives will be funded when Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan delivers the country's budget address tomorrow. Arabile Gumede reports.
Vincent Mgomezulu is a 38-year-old construction worker from Alexandria Township and has been unable to find work since June last year. His plight is similar to more than 4 million unemployed South Africans.
I don't have, but I think the government must provide us a job a lot. By creating many companies in the suburbs, whatever. For these places, they must build the companies.
South Africa has one of the highest unemployment rates in the world, at 23.9%. This, according to Statistics South Africa's latest labour force survey for the fourth quarter of 2011. It has, however, declined marginally in the past year thanks to government initiatives like the Microfinance Apex Fund and the Comprehensive Rural Development Programme. But are these programs enough?
I think in terms of recognizing the problem, enough has been done. In terms of diagnosing the problem, I would question that probably not enough has been done. And if you don't diagnose the problem properly, you can't remedy it. And certainly, I don't think there's enough done on the remedy side.
Yeah, not enough. A little bit done, a little bit. But if they can improve more, they can afford to. Because if you see the environment in this, especially in Alexander, many people don't work, they are unemployed whatsoever.
Government became the main creator of jobs last year, with its current wage bill standing at 45% of its total expenditure. This amid the global economic slowdown, which has put a lot of pressure on the private sector.
The private sector needs to be able to bring in people at a reasonable price. An enabling environment must be created. Enabling environment is a lot of things. It isn't just labor laws. It means things like transport costs. It means things like surety for your business to go forward. Statements on nationalization, for example, aren't helpful for the private sector. Around the world today, it is the private sector that has created the most jobs.
If you look at what's happened to wage inflation, we've seen a decline in labor productivity, so you have a double whammy in that wages are increasing, productivity is declining. A lot of with trade union activity. We saw last year we lost about 12 million days to strikes. Those things mitigate against job creation and in fact encourage employers to actually automate, to mechanize, to offshore, to outsource, to look at labor saving alternatives, and I think that's the situation we're in at the moment.
South Africa hopes to decrease its unemployment rate to 15% by 2020, which means a further 5 million jobs need to be created.
Well, I think the new growth path is saying that we need to do two things. We need to raise the growth rate, the economic growth rate, so GDP per capita growth rate, but we also need to raise the labor-absorbing content of growth. So we need to get more jobs per investment. We need to move into much more labor-absorbing activities.
In order to reach its employment goals, South Africa's GDP will need to grow by 10% annually, a far cry from the 3.1% forecast for 2011. As we look today tomorrow, we await initiatives that will help to stimulate growth and jobs in both the public and private sector. Questions will be placed on where the funding for the Youth Development Agency will come from, and whether our streets will continue to be filled with the unemployed and those still seeking funding for basic needs. This is Arabile Kumete in Johannesburg, South Africa.
Well, we're heading into a short break right now. Before we head into that 2-minute break, though, we've just seen a trading update come through from Aspen Pharmacare saying that it sees headline earnings per share from continuing operations up between 17 and 23%. Of course, expected or to exceed those reported in the comparative period as well by 24 to 30% is first half earnings per share. When we come back, we'll be getting some technical perspective on the markets right now with Paul Johnson, who's technical analyst over at News Trading. There's more Open Exchange right after this, so don't go away.